called The Man with the Soulless Eyes. There's a feeling of strength that comes from knowing you have come from a long lineage of powerful witches. Not that I make that public or anything, but there is some sense of security when other people who talk about being possessed or being haunted, I feel a power to guide them and protect them. In some ways, this has helped me throughout my life when I figured it out, but in other ways, I was kind of a target because I was always protecting the weaker that didn't know. And that really is what happened with Andy. He came to me just before he killed himself to, I guess, rectify his past, bring me to his brother, and change his brother's future, knowing that if a demon would attach to him so easily, so young, it could easily attach to his brother. But that is only my thoughts on it. I don't know if he really knew what would happen, but when he killed himself, what happened was the demon actually went into a weak person close by and just transferred forms. But the demon wanted the twins' power so bad and their gift, then how different they were, but all their lives they thought they were different in a bad way when it was really the opposite. They were different in a almost heavenly way. Being an identical twin is one thing, but it usually splits when the egg has been fertilized immediately, not after, when the baby is actually fully formed into an embryo. So the fact that whatever power they had inside them, it had actually split them later on, was quite incredible. I don't think the demon had ever seen it in his lifetimes. His thousands of years of being on the hunt for something so powerful it could make him rule the world almost, would be the best description. Back to how I found out that my powers were more than just being able to read auras and see dead people walking huge solid oak tables over her heads with her sisters, and do other rituals for protection. She'd always read my palm, and now that I look back in pictures of us, she's always looking at me, which is interesting because she's not looking at me. I can't really explain it. But it always felt like she was protecting me from some sort of evil. And when I was younger, I would have the worst night terrors. I could see these hands coming after me every single night. I'd wake up sweating and in terror. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to wake up and I could see them hovering over me but never being able to touch me. And as I got older, I wondered, how was that possible? So, this power, unfortunately, working to gain an angle of opportunity in the demon. However, the hundreds of years the demon was looking for this kind of power that was inside the twins realized that these witches would teach their teachings to their loved ones, or thought that they would, passing the rituals on and the necessary needs when danger, to fight for the innocent and less powerful, but the purest of energies is what the demon wants. It's what the devil wants. Even though there are rules, and even evil has to follow rules, just like the good has to follow rules also. He wanted this demon that was shunned and who will be gone, but the problem is that there's always another waiting to take his place, created through a dark force that is the yin and the yang of the world. Without evil, we would not know good, and without good, we would not know evil. So, that is just the rules of energy. The demon started with Andy. He was the younger of the twins and the weaker one. He knew he could scare him. He wasn't the younger, he was the older, but the weaker of the twins. And he worked on him first, because remember, when the twins were little, they were not together. They were separated because nobody wanted them to know their family for some reason. Thought that because they split at a very strange stage that it was an evil force and not a good force. But it was just the opposite. They both had their own incredible talents to give to the world. So Andy has moved on, or so I think, but I don't know. I kind of feel him still around. It's strange, really. But demon created such havoc in the family, and that's what incinerated, in the end, the demon's control over Kyle and Andy. The longer I lived with Kyle, the more fun we had. Yet there was a man who was no longer under the control of himself, but he was a puppet. He was a cold-blooded killer. He had tried killing me once before and did not win. And he was hunting us again. However, the dark forces that invaded his body were not just one, but many, and made him cunning and even more dangerous. I looked at him as a coward and a threat. We took the summer and we would travel around. I needed to get out of that area. I needed to think, to clear my head, and Kyle did too. The police force watched his house while we were gone and said that daily updates, there was nobody there. Not a peep in the woods. The trees blew in the wind. The birds chirped. The squirrels ran. They said it was quite active. There were deer and moose and all sorts of wonderful wildlife that had not been there before we left. We got an RV, and of course Kyle decked it out, made it bulletproof, and it was beautiful. He really did a nice job. Most of the work he did it himself. But he was worried. He was worried about me, about going so far away from the house. He was worried about Iris. Every second we weren't in his sight, he would get uncomfortable looking. But the weather was unseasonably warm and is actually nice weather for Oregon that summer. And the man with no soul kept his distance. He too was gaining power by bringing evil forces into his life. He had basically shied from the daily threat to us, but that made us even more nervous. What I can see, or touch, or know, or predict, or feel, I can deal with. It is when the evil becomes inconsistent that my level of fear elevates to unbearable heights. The night terrors come back. The paralysis comes back. And Kyle, he did not want that for me. He knew we had to get out of that area. He did not really think about the man with no soul. He firmly believed that he was gone for now. And possibly forever. And he was moved on to torture others. And yes, that's exactly what he did. And that's how he got more powerful. He would torture others and kill many more before he would return to stalk us. I could not disagree, yet the man would be back. Maybe he was waiting for another dark evil to help him, and that's what he was doing. But every power, every evil deed he did or allowed into his weak soul, he would be making him as a human feel indestructible, and the demons that lurked in his soul and devoured him as a human being were feeling the power too, and they were feeling free. This man was very dangerous. Oregon had many deaths that year that were missing persons cases or cruel serial killer type. Nobody could explain it and nobody could figure it out. Over 60 people that summer would be found mutilated or somehow dead. He was sitting, waiting just out of our sight, but still watching, preparing to make his move, and that is what we didn't know. He wanted to slaughter me and take over Kyle so he could have the ultimate power. So Kyle and I both honestly just wanted a different scene. We did not allow the soulless creature to ruin a beautiful summer. He took 3 months off and purchased a really nice RV, which he redid, and we traveled all over the U.S., all of the national parks, seeing all of the beautiful sights from Yellowstone to Yosemite, down through the Rockies, Colorado, Arizona, Taos, New Mexico, the Grand Canyon, Death Valley. There were so many places we saw. The sequoias in California, the giant redwoods. It was a fun summer. And little by little, the more fun we had, the more laughter we had. The closer the man with no soul could get to us, and we were not on our toes anymore. Iris was even relaxed. Iris was still a dog in some respects, and in others she was an amazing loyal friend who would die for your life in a heartbeat. The day, so we're starting to get cooler as the end of our trip came to a close. In the beautiful Idaho mountains, where the 3 of us lazily sat by a roaring fire, Kyle and I both built it was somehow something we loved to do. We both loved to watch the stars, loved to build fires, we loved to camp, we loved to travel. We just loved being outside, and so did Iris. It was a really nice time. Anything to do with the outdoors to make us feel free and connected to the earth and each other. The fire crackled and popped loudly as the pine sap snapped, and needles were ravished by the large, hot, raging flames. We always dug a precisely nice fire pit so as not to let any harmful flames stray and cause a forest fire. But that was very important to us to be be responsible. So, and one night, as I had finished digging the hole, we put the firewood that we'd collected. Iris and I were getting kindle to start the fire. I heard a snap of branches, like somebody was walking behind me, and I giggled and turned around, only to feel a rush of freezing cold air and fear that made my blood cold and my heart stop. I held my breath, and Iris's head went flat and her ears flattened out and her head went down. I could hear her start to growl underneath her throat. I said, Iris. I said, come on, girl. We gotta get back. Kyla was tending to the rest of the pit, putting rocks around it, and as we walked back towards the fire, quickly and obviously, with fear on both our faces. Iris, you can't explain it or even describe it, but she knew we had gotten careless. He said, are you okay? I said, yeah, everything's fine. Temperature was just a deer or something. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, there was I don't know, it just felt weird. It was nothing really. I convinced Kyle, but he was not convinced. He knew something had gone on just by Iris's demeanor and mine. As we sat by the fire, we had just finished dinner, and he heard it, and I did too. This time it was a deliberate crack and breaking of pretty big twigs and leaves. And we knew this was not an animal, this was a human's heavy step, creating this clean snap in the dark woods. We were completely surrounded by. Our voices trailed to a dead silence, not looking away from the direction the sound emanated from. We knew this was not an animal. It was intentional, precise, and intended for us to hear. We both broke into survival mode. Fire out, side closed, food picked up, and a quick, precise surveillance of our now pitch black campsite. Doors closed to the RV, engine running, and off the site in less than 3.5 minutes, faster than any person could ever react to what we were doing. Except for this man. Kyle and I both knew this was a drill we practiced every few days, but this exact situation was the reason why. Maybe it was neurotic, but it was useful in the end. The road was so desolate, we were so far out there, there was no way there could be another human soul out there. Unnerved and filled with fear, we did not say a word. Iris now was sitting in front between us in the front seat, watching closely, almost in a militant focused observation. Between front and back, with short checks to the sides of the windows, Kyle realized this was a serious situation that happened earlier. So with one button, he sealed off the windows, which gave him little visibility but made the sides safer. As we drove closer into town, closer to our home, and hopefully farther away from this maniac, Kyle never missed a detail. He knew how to make things work, to set up anything to turn into a comfy fortress that was more than welcoming as a home, and within minutes had the protection of any military bunker. We had ammunition in case we needed. We had guns underneath the front, built into the RV. I mean, he was a police officer, so he knew the dangers that we might run into. And he was not lazy or lacking the inability to mark down every detail. That's one thing I really loved about him. He remembered every detail. My birthday, the day we met, what I was wearing, I can't remember any of that. For me, without Kyle, I would have been dead a long time ago. Even before he's the one who found me in the hole. He knew he had to get back to our house. I did not want to go home. I was afraid to go home, but I knew deep down inside I had to return. I was just grasping at the side of the bucket seats, the armrest. My knuckles were white. I was soaking wet with sweat. My nerves were on end. He's like, it will be okay. We are safe in here. We have plenty of gas. Everything's made out of Kevlar in between the already bulletproof outside. So, I don't think one man checkpoints to gun us down. I laughed. I said, you're right. I feel kind of stupid. He said, no, it's okay. You've been through a lot. We've all been through a lot. I mean, look at Iris. True. I looked down at my hands. And I said, well, I have my new prosthetics that look so real. I couldn't believe them. They were so comfortable, too. It made everything much easier. I could get in and out of a car, all the things you take for granted when you have hands taken away from me for about a year and a half. Luckily, Dr. Brennan, he fixed me up perfectly. All the sessions, all the molds that he took, he was a perfectionist, and they felt so real. You couldn't tell the difference, honestly. They looked real, they felt real, they looked like my hands did, even with the soft mole on the left side that I used to use to find my left and right hand when I was a kid. That made me laugh. So, as we drove, I could just feel the impact of the RV and the road, and listen to the soft rumble as we drove on. I went back and I got some sleep, knowing Kyle would definitely never sleep. So one of us had to. I hours, and she sat on top of me as I slept. Kyle kept checking. He finally found a campground a couple hours down the road and a few hours from her house that was clearly full. And he parked there for the night, right by the river's edge. Actually, it was a little kind of town, I guess you would say. You drive down this, I don't even know how he found it. You drive down this gravel road, and then all of a sudden it would open up, and it was a glacier lake. It was gorgeous. I don't even remember the name, but there was a little restaurant there and a RV parking spots, and a nice old couple. They ran it. But when we got out, and the stars were incredible, but it was more incredible how blue the water was, and how it was almost like a fjord with mountains, deep mountains on each side that fed this lake. It was amazing. Crystal clear blue the water was. Even in the moonlight you could see it. The moon was enormous, and it just rose in between the two mountains like it owned the earth. It was a huge, super blue moon. It was beautiful. And I remember thinking, I will never be this happy ever again. And forgetting that Kyle could read my mind, squeezed my shoulder and said, yes, you will. This will all be over. But I wasn't so sure it was going to end the way he, as optimistic as I have always been, was not so sure this was going to end the way I had hoped or he had assumed. I don't know. There was something inside of me that ticked the time until the man with the soulless eyes would be back, and he would either win and I would die, or I would win and he would die. But you can't kill a demon or demons. That would need to be addressed in my mind somehow. Kyle said, please stop thinking about it. It's our last day. Just enjoy it. We're safe. There's lots of people around. And he was right. We had a great dinner. Breakfast. We stayed there for a couple days. It was nice. It was so beautiful. The water was freezing to the point of where if you fell in, for some reason, you would not last more than a couple minutes. That's how cold it was. I think Iris walked to the edge, put a paw in, and ran back quickly. She looked up at me like, what did you bring me to? This is not what I bargained for. So she hung out at the camper, almost pouting. I felt bad. She wouldn't even chase a stick. She wanted to go swimming. Oh well, kiddo, we'll be home soon. Her head stayed down, but her tail wagged. It was cute. She had the cutest face. I just loved it. There are these little benches, like picnic benches, out in front of the little restaurant. The older couple, the woman walked over to me and she said, would you like another glass of Prosecco? I said, of course, why not? It's our last night. Kyle laughed. He said, just bring us a bottle. So we loosened up. We had a good time. They even had a live band, which echoed in the mountains and off the water. It was really quite fun not to think about any of that crap. was the reason all those people were dead that summer back in Oregon. But we tried not to keep that too far from our minds, but we tried to keep it out of the forefront so we could have fun. I don't think either one of us didn't really have a desire to be splayed at the bottom of a hole, sliced into tiny little pieces. So we both knew we had to take a risk and go home. We could not live on the road for the rest of our lives, running from this man, allowing him to live free, harming other people. That wasn't right either. That was not honorable, either one of us. He was a man of great honor, and he went to extensive heights to make me happy, lengths to make me happy and feel safe. I knew this other man, he was taunting us through our travels. I knew he was there. I could feel him. I just never said anything to Kyle. I didn't even bring it into my mind. But he was there once in a while. So I told Kyle when we were up in Banff in Lake Victoria in British Columbia, Canada, I said I wanted to sell the house and move up to the beautiful, wild, untouched beauties of that area in Canada. His soft green eyes glanced over his reading glasses, which I thought were so attractive. He was watching me hyper-focused on painting my toes. Yes, on the side, I was sitting on the side of the bathtub and had my foot propped up onto one of the doors, the closet. And he's watching me with this smile. I could almost feel it, but it was making me uncomfortable. And I looked over and I said, "What? Was it the color?" I was unguarded. He was unguarded and real. So he comes kind of slyly over to me. And I spoke to him slowly. "Yes," I said, "is there something you want to tell me in private that you couldn't tell me from over there?" And as if he was a man on a covert mission, which was making me feel very strange because he had never done this before. His body ended up in front of me on one knee, and I swallowed. I was blowing on my toes to dry them, my eyes looking into his as he's in front of me on one knee. And then I started to come back to reality, almost falling off the edge of the cooler I was sitting with my feet propped up against. this is Prince Kyle, then that would be the best thing I've ever heard. I said, of course, giving him a big hug and ruining 3 of my toes. But I didn't care. This was must have been something I did not do very often, because he fell backwards and Iris was on top of both of us trying to pull me up, thinking that I had fallen, and licking Kyle. We were laughing so hard we couldn't get up, and you laugh so hard that you feel weak. That's what it was, and just we laughed there on the floor of the RV, me in his arms. I said, how did you know? So I looked at him because I have my ways. I said, damn, I forgot you can read my mind. Ugh. He rarely let me in on the fact he could read my mind. And I didn't really think much about it, because I wasn't really thinking anything bad, other than about the forest animals and how I felt for him, and how I loved being free on the road. For 1 second, I forgot about the man hunting us, the visualization, and the realization of driving up the driveway tomorrow was creeping into my mind, though. Looking at the ring on my finger, I was afraid I would either lose my life or Kyle would lose his, and that was a pain I did not want to go through, and I did not want to put it through. I was riddled with this anxiety at this thought. I could feel my body reacting to it and becoming uncomfortable. Kyle, of course, knew this, and he pulled me in tighter. He said, don't worry about it. Do not think of him. It will work out. I said, well, I'm glad you're so confident, because I can feel some other entities lurking in the blackness, waiting for some sick soul. There are many. He's not just one evil demon. He is many. And you cannot kill a demon. You don't understand. I have to figure out a plan. He said, we'll think about it tomorrow. As we go home tomorrow? He goes, yes. I said, have you ever heard of shape shifters? It's really an American Indian belief, but I know they are real, and I was taught of their powers very early on in life. My grandmother believed in them. She had seen them, no doubt. And I never doubted their power or capacity to infest anyone, not just those who were privy to the power of a shapeshifter, skinwalker, doppelganger, or shadow people, but whatever one may call. But the problem was they were haunting and wicked, and they were evil vacuums that sucked the life as they rolled across the land. No matter what was after Kyle and me, it had no good intentions for sure. And I could feel the shapeshifter inside of that man, which made him very dangerous and scary to me. I don't think Kyle believed in that. He just kind of groaned as he was listening to my mind roll over and over. Driving home along the high cliffs and rocky shores down below had always been a nostalgic journey, one where the smells, sounds, and sights eluded a feeling of the deepest comfort and absolute peace for me. I can remember being a child and of seaweed slopped against the dense sand. Amazing sculpted rock formations jutted out of the ocean. So beautiful. Stippled along the Pacific shores, the rays of the deep orange, reds, and violets gracefully filled the skies as the sun fell upon the earth. And the deeper it was swallowed into the ocean, the more beautiful the colors became. I just watched as the sun was consumed into the sea. My head was hurting, but I had to be more positive. Something was pulling me down. Maybe it was this man was weakening me. That was it. Alright, I rolled down the window and I let this salt air rustle my hair as I pulled it out of a messy ponytail that it was in. Just let the wind blow it back and forth, closing my eyes and enjoying it. Smelling the salt in the sea air, feeling the salt on my face, and the coolness of the breeze. Oh, it felt so nice. The sun that once warmed my face dipped away into the ocean, ending one more day and giving darkness wings and the freedom of light as the last bit of light was swallowed by the sea. But there was a chill that filled that space of darkness now, once the warmth was gone. As the RV traveled past point between our house and where we were, Eugene was there, and we knew what happened in Eugene. It pulled at our hearts. We closed our eyes and we both tried to just let it pass without thinking about Andy. But both Kyle and I felt the unexplicable, heinous memory that would always fill our heads every time we passed that small town. Now, only a few hours from home, I started to feel the tremors in my stomach. The fear was becoming unbearable, gurgling into my veins. There was no other way. After months of running from a darkness darker than any I had ever felt, we needed to face the terror awaiting us, even though it had followed us during the summer, lurking behind every beautiful moment, sunset, sunrise, or intoxicating hike. Kyle and I tried desperately to enjoy every moment before we had to make this trip back. But we knew the time would come, and it had. The man had only watched from a distance. When he watched, I could feel him and not see him, which drove me almost crazy. As I was thinking about this, I could feel the RV turn onto the driveway that I knew oh so well, to our home. so dark. I looked at Kyle and I said, weren't there supposed to be a bunch of patrol officers here? He said, yeah. I said, I don't see any lights on anywhere. And there was lights everywhere outside his house. I could feel his skin. He had goosebumps on his skin, like he felt it overwhelming him too. We both felt the cold air become even colder, so cold we could see our breath. Kyle, I said. He grabbed my hand. He surprised me a little because of how strong he grabbed it. His eyes filled with tears, tears of fear, not sadness. And so did mine. If you managed to escape the edges, I let them fall to my blouse. Kyle squeezed my hand even harder and said, it's fine, it's fine. I'm gonna call in and see what's going on. There were patrol cars waiting for us, but there was something strange. The RV rolled into the parking spot designed specifically just for the RV. Iris started to growl suddenly at the door of the RV. There was no one in sight, no officers walking the perimeter. Something was wrong, something dark. It was so dark. I said, Iris, stop. Come here. The windows were rolled down. A horrible smell came flooding into the side of the RV. And without a thought, he slammed the RV in park. His eyes met mine. He pulled out both the guns underneath the front dash of the RV. He said, stay here, in a demanding voice. I grabbed his arm. No. He ignored me and pushed his arm out of mine. I was like, oh, shit. His eyes looked at me and yelled, stay here, I'm serious. I'm calling for backup. Oh, I'm calling for backup too. Kyle, let's get out of here or just drive away. He goes, no, I'm so tired of running from this. I know what he wanted to say. Without thinking, he just jumped out of the RV. I could hear a splash of his foot hitting something congealed and slippery. I knew immediately what it was. Shit. Call for backup, he screamed. Now, in a voice so filled with fear, it scared me to death. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I dialed Chief Deputy Sheriff. Kyle and we need backup. And without thinking, I said, just get the goddamn backup here. The words must have been so scared and horrific that the chief didn't even hesitate or remark about my disrespectful tone. I held onto the gun I had under my seat, close to me. I had to hold back Iris because she was pissed at this point. Her fur was standing straight up. Her eyes were almost glowing. And then, without control, she just, I don't know how she got out of my grip, but she leaped from the RV and I had to follow her. Iris, no! I did not see him, but I knew from the way Iris looked through me what she was jumping. My blood ran still. My heart stopped. Time stood still. I launched out of the RV after her. The man had been in the RV the entire way home. As I jumped out into the garage, I slipped on the congealed substance now in between my hands. and murdered all of the officers one by one. I stepped and slipped on the wet redness covering the floor. I was covered in it. I saw Iris jump over me as all of a sudden Andy's hand, I knew his hand, reached over and wrenched me across the bodies and onto the driveway. Get up! He is screeching at me. Get the... And knowing he never swore, I looked at him in terror. He's like, get up, Jodi! And his body was real. His eyes were glowing green. I obeyed. And as time seemed to stand still, Iris was running after something. Kyle, I managed to ask. Andy looked at me. He's inside. But the man is coming for you. You've got to run, Andy said. Into the woods. Go. I got up and started to race after Iris, feeling a heavy breath coming closer and closer. My ears and body could feel the huge strides pounding relentlessly, trying to reach me. I don't know if it was my adrenaline or Andy's protection that kept the man from reaching me, but as fast as I'd ever ran in my life, he was trying to grab the back of my shirt to pull me down. Then all of a sudden, two loud cracks ran through my ears as gunshots, quick shots, almost from a moving vehicle. It seemed I couldn't see anything. One was definitely Kyle's gun, and then another and another. But this man did not go down. I told him he was more than a human at this point. He was full of demons, and I had to take him somewhere. Think, Jodi, think. A thick hand, thick, greasy, bloody hand grazed the entire length of my back as I ran further and faster than I had ever had. I ran down into the woods. I screamed, "Don't kill him!" The words barely audible from the sounds of gunshots surrounding me. I kept running, but this man did not fall. I don't know if they even hit him or not, but I didn't care. I knew where I had to go. Once I started down towards the lake, I remember the man getting into the boat and going across the lake. That's where I had to go. So I started running harder, my arms pumping, pushing me faster, my legs reaching out from my hips like I was not even touching the ground, forcing him to follow me. I knew I would have to find a place to put the demons, but they could not know, and they could not be able to escape. There had to be a lair across the water, but that water was cold. I don't know if I could swim fast once I got into it. My body would almost feel like it had been frozen as I dove into it, but I kept running towards it. I could hear screams and yells, but I did not turn around. I did not stop. I could see Andy's eyes glowing, almost leading the way, helping me. The steps were heavier as a demon started to catch up to my mortal speed. In some way, I knew exactly who was helping me. I didn't even feel like I was me. I was just running. I never ran so fast. There was a cave. That's where the lair was. I saw it in my head. The cave down at the bottom of the lake came up on the other side, and it would be closed off. I could close it off, but I would need Andy's help. scream. Somehow I had lost my shoes, but I didn't care. I started to take off my shirt. I didn't want to be weighted down by anything. My jacket, my shirt, everything came off. The water would be cold, gripping my heart, my ability to breathe, but the demon would follow because he was after me. I was going to his lair and he knew it. As my feet pounded against the wooden dock, and I dove head first, long, hands in front, off the end into the deep, dark lake. Cold water sliced at my face as I hit like it was a wall of bricks instead of water. But I pushed as far and as deep as I could, pulling my hands to the side, moving as fast as I could. I could feel my speed being halted. It is cold water and it was dark, but I didn't care. I reached the other side of the lake somehow. It had to have been handy. There was another force with me. Sharp rocks as I got out of the other side of the lake split into the bottom of my feet. I couldn't even feel it. I didn't care. I was in survival mode. The feeling ripping through my legs as the adrenaline started to hold me down, as it does. When you're so full of it, it's almost like a drug. When it runs out hard. But I kept pushing, and I could hear in the back of my mind Andy screaming my name. Run, you're almost there. I was sobbing, tears rolling from my eyes. My limbs practically frozen with exhaustion. I could see the glowing green light of Andy, his image young and strong, standing there with his arms luring me, pulling me over, saying, here, over here. I'm like, that cave will fall. It falls 500 to 1,000 feet into nothingness. He said, don't worry. I trusted him. I don't know, what if he was part of them? I pushed myself. Whatever entity, I could feel them to move in on me, but this was a different entity. The other one was trying to devour my soul. The blistering of the anger bubbled onto my skin, but this other entity pulled me out of it. It was a powerful golden light, a warm light. As my legs entered the cave and the ground gave way, just as his demon went into and fell into the endless pit, passing me, through me. I could feel my body dying as I fell, and I just slumped over, knowing Iris had fallen with me. But then a warmth out of nowhere, ripping my body back on top from my waist and out of the cave, and Iris was next to me, and we were both lying face up on the ground, and I heard this screeching sound and slamming of rock on rock. I shot up. There was this enormous boulder that Andy had somehow pushed closed. As my grandmother appeared out of nowhere, my eyes, from the tears, I knew it was her, but I couldn't even make anything out. My head was pounding, my feet were bleeding, I was in so much pain. This is this possible? I was thinking, am I dreaming this? How would I know where any of this was? But the demon was sealed in by the words that I had never heard before, but there were many voices, many powerful ones. I could not see, but I could feel the earth was rumbling hard. I was shaking the trees. I thought it was going to pull me into it, and I was going to perish. But it didn't, and the last words rolled off the tongues of the old ones as they disappeared without even saying goodbye. I lay there, I was so tired. I could hear the echoes deep in the blackness beneath my pain. Was it over? Was this over? It was sealed. But what if somebody opened it again? But where were we? Nobody would find this place. I'd never seen. It was in the middle of the woods, so deep, odd looking, like we were split in worlds. I can't really explain it. The tree silent, it hurt my ears. I was holding Iris by her scruffy part of her neck that mama dogs use to move them. Holding her so tight, I think it hurt her, but she didn't care. The brilliant images that had once pierced through the darkness, blinding me, had disappeared. And Andy, clearly standing there smiling, walked over to me and said, "You'll be fine." He said, "You deserve to be happy, and you make my brother very happy." Tears came to my eyes. I love you, Andy. I hope that wherever you go, you find as much peace and happiness as you deserve. You are good. I know. Thank you. I wouldn't have known that without you. My next life, it will be great. I promise I will see you again. And his green eyes looked over his shoulder as he walked and disappeared into the mist. I sat there alone in the cold, tired. The entity was gone, the fear was gone, the pain in my feet remained, and Iris and I just lay there in front of the cave. But it was too late for the demon. He was forever sealed in this cave to burn deep into the walls at the front were old images and symbols and words that I could not understand. And wherever we were so deep and lost in the forest that nobody could find without knowing where we were or how to get here, because it wasn't through a hike or a walk. Nobody would stumble upon this. But then I felt a warm wind pass my cheeks as my eyes got so heavy. whistled through the branches, making the leaves rustle, creating the sound I was so familiar with as the storm approached. I was wet and cold, bleeding, but I was alive. And I looked down at my hands and smiled because through all of this, they were still perfect. They helped me to swim. They helped me to do a lot of things. But most of all, they just look so clean, which made me giggle. I was trying not to focus on how freaking painful my feet were. I said, "Stop being a baby," I scolded myself. I stood up, my teeth clenched together. Each step brought such intense pain. My legs felt like they were gonna give in. I said, "No, stop it. No, no way." I was not going to give up, but now I needed to get back to Kyle. I needed to get through wherever I was into the world I lived in. I knew it was right there on the edge. I could feel it. And as I crossed some kind of invisible border, I could feel the forest change oddly. I could hear noises, people calling my name, Kyle. I barely spoke loud enough for an ant to hear. "Kyle," I yelled, this time much stronger. "She's up here. They're up here. Look, they're fine." A voice boomed louder than all of the others. "Jodi, I know." His voice. And he pushed through as his arms closed around me. And I collapsed into them like I did every time. A haven for me. Oh, his arms consume me as my mind saw Kyle. His eyes were glowing green and just for a second as he grabbed me, pulling me close. "I love you." Barely a whisper, yet I knew he heard me. Everything went dark. All fear was gone. Everything was going to be okay, just as he promised. When I woke up, I didn't know exactly where I was. I was a little confused. Eyes do not adjust well to so many colors when they are used to seeing only a few. The hundreds of flowers that surrounded me were amazing and smelled even better. I think that's what woke me out of my slumber. "Every color, Kyle?" I asked. "Yes, of course," he said. His figure appeared, and his eyes intensely green, but not glowing. By my side instantly, I looked at him. I said, "How long have I been out?" "I don't know, a day and a half, not too long." I could feel the pain in my feet, but not. I could tell they were fixed. The pain behind his green eyes, that so many officers were slain for him, for us. "I'm sorry," I said. He said, "It's not your fault. Nobody knew that was going to happen. They had months of nothing, and then all of a sudden, it was an invisible force came out of nowhere, killing one after the other, slicing their throats, stabbing them. Nobody knew what to do." There was a couple officers that had lived through it to tell. They both came to me and assured me that it was not our fault. They had no idea how I ran so fast. All of them watched as I are you, some kind of Olympic runner? Triathlon? Olympic Guinean or whatever? I laughed. A thick, robust voice blurted out behind the safety of Kyle's eyes. I never have seen a woman run as fast or swim as vigorous as you that other night. Then you just disappeared. We looked and looked. Thank God we found you. I don't know about you. I don't know. Kyle, he looked over at him and he said, I don't know if I trust her. Something is off about this woman. He said, yeah, that's why she's perfect for me. As he looked over, he gave me a wink. It made me smile and warm. Well, he said, Jesus, never saw anything like that before. He said, okay. Kyle pushed the obnoxious onlookers out of my room, our room. Thank you. My head fell heavily into the thick down pillows, now surrounding my head, cradling me comfortably. My eyes closed. They were so tired and dry. My lips were so dry. But I finally got enough saliva worked up to say, yeah, but I had some help, wincing as a smile crossed my face, splitting my lips in a couple places. Kyle knew who I was referring to. He said, well, we can't tell them that. I said, no, but I wanted you to know. I feel his strong arms and hands cradling me, and he pressed his chin over my head. Well, you'll just have to tell everybody you are a track star. I could not help but laugh, which hurt even worse. But I laughed, and then I laughed harder, and then we laughed together. Felt a warm cover, like a blanket, come over me, and I could sleep, still laughing, still smiling. My eyes were so heavy, and I slept and slept. It felt like days. And tonight, there were no nightmares, just us, the stars and iris. Somewhere, a familiar voice said, goodbye, Jodi, and kissed my cheek. And my heart broke because I knew I had to let go. In my mind, I said, goodbye, Andy. Before I could thank him, the vague image disappeared with this beautiful, glowing green eyes. He turned around and walked through to the next life, I guess. I could hear in my mind, until we meet again, just like he had said in the woods. And I was thinking to myself, well, I guess I would know if it were him or not because of his eyes. I must have been sleeping because I mumbled, and Kyle jumped awake. He said, are you okay? He's what? What was it? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I did not respond. But in some ways my heart was thick with sadness. Yet I knew Andy was moving on to a life that brought him happiness and joy. The strange was gone. The fear was gone. He oddly seemed more my life alive. Trying to do my best to make him happy and be a good partner. And forgetting, damn it, that Kyle could still read my mind, he said, "Of course, you're going to be a fantastic partner." And tonight we left the windows, coverings up, and we opened the sky and watched as the shooting stars became a meteor shower over us, as if Andy and my ancestors had given us that as a show. Thinking about it now, I giggle, looking down my tummy. Well, I was getting fat, that's for sure. As Kyle walked by me, he said, "You're not fat, you're pregnant."